Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Xuewen. For today's session, my side I will be share more on the how to do the demo with our AMAX-658. I will be using is the CodeSys IDE. Right. So this one is my simple architecture. Right. So for today's section, I'm using is my laptop. I will be installing the CodeSys IDE. Right. So the hardware is the AMAX-658. AMAX-658, and then I was using is 2IO module. This 2IO module actually is they are using is EtherCAT protocol. Second, the item IO module I'm using is the ADAM6160EI, is the Ethernet IP protocol, right? So this is the Ethernet IP to be simulation, right? So I'm using is 3 switch button. So each switch button will be trigger the tower light signal, right? So if I press the DI channel 0, I'm drawing is the green color, so it will be trigger the tower light signal, the green color, and then individually you can be see the next slide. I will share more on the how I will create the project and then how to simulate all this I/O. So if you see from this architecture, you will be see that this is our hardware, right? So I'm using is the 2 LAN port. One LAN port is connecting to my laptop. Is the another LAN port is I'm connecting to this ADAM. So these 2 IO module actually they are using is that they will have internal LAN will be there, right? So the next step I will show what I'm meaning is what's the tap LAN is the internal LAN tree will be there, right? Before I start to move on my software portion, I would like to share more on about how our actual hardware. So now I'm using is the one webcam. So I will share some information, hardware information to you, right? So this is the actual hardware, right? So this is the one I'm saying is the LAN 1 and LAN 2, right? This one is the internal LAN I'm using is for IO module, right? This one is the hardware. So this is a three button I'm using. Is the green color is the channel 0. I'm connecting to the channel 0. So I'm using is the second button I'm using connecting to the DI channel 1, right? So I'm used to control for the tower light signal the orange color. So I'm using is the orange button. That one will be to control the light tower light signal of the red color, right? This is all the hardware for my demo, right? So if you receive for the our controller, right? So if you will be see that they will have a few LED indicator will be here, right? So you will be see from here. So when you power on, this power LED will be on, right? So SATA is this is mainly for our internal hard drive. As long as the hard drive is the normal, you will be see that the LED will be flashing will be there, right? So because of the camera resolution, you may not be see very clear, right? So the run button, because the one is my previous demo units, CodeSys demo unit is running, so that is the reason you will be see that the LED is on, right? So this hardware is supporting to dual power, right? Redundant power will be there, right? So if you let's say if you see that the LED, this LED ERR LED is on, it means that the one your power supply is have issue, right? So their design is the redundant power, so you have to be supplying power 1 and power 2. You will be see that 2 power level will be here, right? So I'm using short these 2 cable, so I'm giving the same power to the 2 power supply. That's the reason you didn't see that the LED ER LED is on, right? So let's say sometimes if you are internal CPU, the overheating, this LED will be triggered. They will write down is over temperature, right? So we do have another error LED. Error is the voltage. What's the meaning of the error voltage? The first time I do the testing for this hardware, right? So my power supply I'm using is 19 volt. So I didn't check the data sheet and I just get the power. It seems that this error LED is on. After I find out the issue is because I'm not using 24 volt power. Our power supply is that you have to use the 24 volt power. You cannot be used like the normal. Our ADAM is travel to 30 volt. It's not like that, right? So this hardware is that they are designing is the 24 volt DC power resupply. You have to need it. So the one of the last label is for the battery load. This is mainly for our internal CMOS battery. You know that our controller is the PC base, right? All the PC base, they will have CMOS battery will be there, right? So there's all the indicator you can do for the troubleshooting purpose, right? So if you look at from this hardware and the left side and right side, the left side UIBC, if you check over this thing is the UIBC that this is just a label. Okay, UIBC that this hardware, right? So if you look at the hardware, this is for the expansion for your communication module. If you want to expand your LAN module or the additional IO module or USB 3 module or any other module, this is the internal PCI bus will be there. This one is mainly if you want to expand for communication and additional not IO module, communication module, you have to extension at the left side. The right side is our design is you have to be add in the IO module there. We are defined left is for communication, right side is for IO module. So based on the Lewis, the slide did mention that some of our controller they will have a different kind of the combination. What I'm saying is based on the latest module, if you want to be set on the IO module, you don't need to be used one of the model we call the power module. Power come with the IO module. This is the one you see in my slide is the AMAX-658, right? So if you are using is the newer model, you may not be needed, but you can be step in the maximum up to 10 IO module because they only can be stand for that kind of power consumption. If for this module is that if you want to use the IO module, you have to use this module, right? So 5001 first. This one is the power with the IO and communication is come together, right? So you must use this module. So when you order or check the module, different kind of the controller, they will have a different kind of the combination. You have to really need to take note this part. Okay. So this one is my hardware introduction, right? So when one more thing is when you receive the hardware, definitely you have to be connect to your monitor. You have to be you have to be configure your specific IP for actual application, right? So they will have an internal default IP will be there. So if you want to know the actual what's the LAN IP, how you want to set it, definitely you have to be use the connect to the monitor and then change all the settings before you start to configure your software, right? This is the hardware part you have to do. Okay, so the next step is we want to control this controller. So definitely you need to be install some software, right? So I will share in my document in this link. If you click this link, they will refer to our website. You can be able to download all the requirement software, right? So definitely is if you want to do any kind of programming, they will need the IDE, right? This is the first step. You have to be install CodeSys IDE, right? So this is the one you have to. They'll have a few topics will be there, but which one you need to be installed and which one you don't need to be installed. Okay, I will explain a little bit detail, right? So first, definitely you need to be install IDE. This is the one you didn't install, you cannot be able to configure your hardware, right? Just one thing. Second is you have to install Advantech CodeSys development add-on package. If you expand this the view, they will come up a lot of the version will be there. A different kind of the CodeSys, the version will be there. Maybe later I will share more on this part, right? You have to install, download and install this add-on package because this add-on package is will be used for the Advantech hardware. Maybe some customer they are using is our Advantech ADM4000 series, 6000 series, and the Apex series and other hardware. So this is mainly for Advantech hardware. That is the reason you need to be installed this add-on package, right? This two is that you have to be installed, right? User menu, I don't need to be installed for the user menu part. So the fourth one, yeah, for if you are the user, you don't need it. This one is mainly for our support team, right? So sometimes your image is crashed. We need to be flash the image. We have to be run your CodeSys license, all these things. Yeah, this one is mainly for Advantech, the support team needed for this one. So if you are the user, you don't need to be download and install it, right? So this is the second one. The last one I want to share is the CodeSys agent and data connect, right? So Louis mentioned to us is that our controller is not like the standard traditional, because they also want to be combined with the IoT and other high-level programming language. If you want to be a few example, right? If you want to be log the data, right? So last time is if you're using is the traditional PLC, you only need in the middleware you have to run some software and then read PLC data and write it in database, right? So now is our one is the if you install CodeSys agent and the data connect all this package, they all the database agent will be installed in your controller. Your controller itself, they can be able to write all this data, log data to your database directly. This is one thing. Second thing is we are saying is the agent, right? So some of the customer they don't want to be logged. Okay, they want to get the data from this one. Is we will be provide the API and SDK for this agent. You can able to install the agent in your laptop and then use this our API. You can able to get all our data and information. You can do the read and write all these things. Okay, the last one is the one of the function our agent will be support is the MQTT function also will be there, right? So this is the main all the software you will need for your development. So okay, one more thing is I'm sharing the link to our training material, right? So if you go to the website, you will be see this thing, right? So definitely if you expand this thing, you will have a lot of version will be there, right? So definitely I will be recommend our customer to be choose correct version according to their hardware, right? So if you have a hardware, if you log into your system, they will have a CodeSys runtime license will be there, right? So you will be see from here, because the one is I did install the CodeSys in my laptop. So if I double click this one, because if you get the hardware, all the CodeSys runtime license, they will come together, right? So you just go and check with what is the hardware, right? Because of this hardware I'm using is the CodeSys, the version is the 3.5.16, right? So I will try to download 3.5.16, right? So and install it, right? The same thing. Oh, sorry. The same thing. This one is the IDE. Second one, you have to be install the package, right? So if you expand this tree view, you will be see that, right? This is the version. I didn't install the latest one because my hardware is only support to 5.6.16, right? That is the reason I only install this one. So after you install the IDE on your desktop, right? You will be see the discount icon will be here, right? If you click on that, you will be see this is the version. Your CodeSys is installed successfully, right? So this is one of the part. Second thing is the next step. Definitely, we need to be start our programming, right? So before we start to do the programming, you may have your hardware or you may not have your hardware. So if you don't have actual hardware, because our IDE, they will not make any charges. You can be download and install in your laptop, right? So if you want to be simulate and run whether your program is working or not working, yes. If you want to be write your process flow, yes, you can able to write it. You can able to simulate it, even though you don't have without hardware, right? How you want to do that? You just go to after you finish installation, they will have a CodeSys folder will be there, right? So you can run CodeSys control, because the one is unique, the controller, right? You don't have a control. This is the simulator, right? So which software you want to test it, right? So you can able to run, because this trial run, they are able to run about 2 hours. Because if you want to be still after 2 hours, they will stop the service. You just close your service and rerun it, right? You just try to run your this CodeSys trial version. They are able to run about 2 hours again, right? So for my hands-on part is my demo. I have actual hardware, so I don't need to be run this simulator. Okay, so after you double click this one, this interface will be pop up, right? So before we do that, right, we download two things. One is the ID. Second one, you have to be download the add-on, right? After you install the ID, you can able to run it. But you are add-on, how they will be update all this add-on to your CodeSys, right? So they will have a tools. You just click to the tools, and then they will have a device repository. You just click the device repository. You can be install our add-on this one, right? The same thing. So let's say we also do share is that if you want to add in the different kind of protocol, right? So Ethernet IP, you have to be install EDS file, right? So this is also the same thing. You if you want to be install EDS file, because I already installed the EDS file. Is the EDS file will be there. I'm not doing installation. You just go to the update, and because the one is our Adam, right? So Adam, I just download from the website. I did install it, right? If you have your different vendor, they also will be provide different EDF file, right? You just go to the tools and repository and do the installation before you do and start anything, right? So this is the requirement. Okay. Second step is we need to be okay. I will just refer to my next slide. Okay. This is my process demo flow. What I need to do, right? First step, I need to be create the project file. Okay. Second, I'm using two hardware, right? Two I/O module. I will say that two I/O module, two hardware. One is for the Ethernet I/O. They are using internal bus, right? Their internal bus they're using is the Ethernet protocol. The second one is the Ethernet IP, right? Ethernet IP. They also consider as a remote I/O module, right? So I'm using is two protocol, right? So that is the reason I'm use this hardware to do a test. Okay. So we just try to do for the first thing. Okay, create the project. So this is the new file. You just create a new project, right? So for me is I always try to be put in the I'm not using the default, because to be easier to find out where my all the project file is will be there. I always put in my desktop, right? This is the I just go and do for the correct directory for all my testing. I will put in this demo folder, right? I'm using this demo folder. The project name is I will put demo. Today is 2023 30331st. Yeah, this one is my project name, right? So the same thing, any programming, any hardware, if you want to write the programming, this is the step. You have to give the directory and create the project file, right? The second step is they will take a while to do a compilation, right? So So if this side is coming, we need to be choose which device we want to be communicate and download our program. All right. So for this hardware is the not supporting for the stop motion. So their runtime license is Advantech controller. I'm using is the 64-bit. RTE is just the runtime controller, PSC controller. They are not combining with the soft motion logic, because different license you have to choose the correct the part number. So for easier to be for myself is that I mostly is using is high level programming language. There's a reason today my section I'm not using is the ladder. I'm using is the structure test to show is all my project flow, right? So programming language I'm using is the structure test. Okay. So this is the project file. So they will be do the all the this is the hardware USB-C, right? So this is our controller. So when you are first step, you just double click this controller. We have to be make sure whether we are. It seems like the it's okay. I because of my previous testing, I'm choosing the correct gateway. You see now, uh, the IDE is set after you install the IDE, you will be see not just the icon, all right? So they will be installed this. This is the middleware gateway. They will be communicate IDE. They will go through the gateway or the program. They will be download to actual hardware, right? This one is the IDE and the gateway will be in the same system, right? So you, as long as you set, you see now based on my this architecture, I did set all the IP is correctly. So the IP I'm setting to be the to be this LAN1. I'm connecting to the my laptop, right? So this one I'm setting is the 192.161.1, right? So this one is 10.10, right? The hardware is the 10.0.1, right? Based on my architecture, right? So I did labeling all the properly. So if you try to scan this thing, right, this is the hardware. Sometimes, um, sometimes if you go through the different network, they will be block certain thing. If you try to pin, you may not be able to pin that because our previous the hardware, AMAX, the O series is the we're using is the Win7. Normally, it's the Win7, it should be okay. Let's say if you're using is the Win10, this hardware is the Win10. So you I cannot be scan the hardware, even though I set the correct IP. Sometimes maybe the firewall block, and then if you want to try to pin, there's no return value. You didn't see that any pin is successful. Maybe because Win10, our default their security thing is that they are not allowed to pin, right? If you have to, if you want to pin in the Win10 with the new hardware, come with the Win10, right? So you have to be go to the firewall, the setting. You have to be enable file and sharing IP. They will have the IVMC, the file. You have to be enabled it. They were allowed to be pinned, right? Now I did test previous setting because I don't want to go too very detail how I did set it in the controller, right? So as long as our IDE they can able to scan this actual hardware, right? You just update that. So and press OK. You will be see that okay. As long as you see the gateway is running well, right? You are choosing correct gateway. Yes, you are the hardware itself. They are able to detect that. So it means that they are communicating, right? Our IDE, our laptop, they can able to scan the actual hardware, right? So they can able to scan it, right? If you want to do this test, you just try to, we are not doing anything, right? So we just try to combine. If you didn't see that any error, so you see error is 0, right? This means is everything is working fine based on our current stage. Okay. So we have done the project file, so we can able to scan our hardware. So the next step, what we need to do, right? The thing we have done creating the project scan. So we will try to add the device. Okay. So I will, if because all the hardware is all the I/O, they will be considered under not under the application. They are not actually running, right? They are not actually running. If you want to be add in, so we have to be add in the device. So you just select the controller and right click and add device, right? So um, I'm at first I'm try to scan and configure this module, right? So this AMAX IO module they are using is the EtherCAT Internet bus. I will show to you where is the internet bus. So you just expand the free bus, and then our protocol I'm using is the Ethernet. So you see now, our controller is try to read the data, try to do. So they are doing is the master tab. So we choose the Ethernet master and then add device because they take some time, right? So UIBC, this is the Ethernet master, right? So you see now we are creating the connection. So we have to be defined that this Ethernet communication, which LAN port we are using, right? Based on our hardware itself, we will have a 3 LAN port, 3 LAN will be there, right? If you double click this one, so they will be they will be asked you to source address is which Ethernet IP uh, physical LAN you will be using. You just go to the click blobs, they will have a tree, right? So if you look at for the this actual hardware itself, you only see that the LAN 1 and LAN 2. Okay, LAN 1, LAN 2 is the name given by me, right? So when you receive the actual hardware, you will not be see that the LAN 1, LAN 2 Internet Ethercat. Maybe I need to highlight this thing, right? So hey, Xuewen, you did mention that you have seen that LAN 1 and LAN 2 Ethercat 3 because the one is I just rename it to be the specific LAN. So LAN 1, I'm connecting to my laptop, right? So for program downloading. LAN 2 is I'm connecting to the Ethernet IP module. LAN 3 is connecting to our EtherCAT IO module, right? So our communication is using Ethernet, EtherCAT, right? EtherCAT LAN 3, right? I just choose the correct LAN. So we have defined that this one LAN. So we will use this LAN port to communicate with our IO, right? So you see now, we only define that we will use the LAN 2, right? So internet LAN, sorry, not the internet LAN. So we need to be add in this module. But for EtherCAT module, they will have one function. You don't need to, you have to, sorry, you have to add in one more thing. So you have to be add in is okay. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. No need to be no need to log in. We just compile so we can scan the module. Okay. So I try to log in and try to scan all the IO module. You no need to be manually add in. So we need wait a while. So when you want to be scanned, you have to log in. We are not running the program, right? So we just right click and scan the module. Right, so you are able to scan these two modules. Okay, so I'm using for this one, I'm not choosing which device. I just export to be the all the module to this one, right? So you will be see from here. So if you because my button I'm connecting button 3 button is connecting to the second module, right? Second module is the AMAX-5051, right? So I need to be make sure that this wire connection is working. The IO module is the receiving any signal, right? So we can do the test. Okay, you just double click this one. You just go to the IO mapping, right? So you see now, you will not be see all these things. As long as you see all this configuration setting, you cannot be modified, you cannot be edited, right? So why? Because we are locking. You have to be lock off and configure it. Okay, I lock off. So now we are not writing the program. We just want to be make sure this I/O wire connection is working properly, right? So you have to be one setting you need to be take care, right? So this one is always update the variable. It means that even though you are not programming or as long as they will have a power, all the status they will be updating, right? You just enable it. So whatever we make any changes, and then I will save, and then you have to be combined. So we will do is the simulation whether this I/O is working. So after you combine, you need to log in and run, right? So this is this 3 steps we have to do it. Save, compile, log in, and run it, right? You just run it. So they will change the status. You will be see from only after you press the run button, all the indicator, all these things, as long as you must have to be see that all the green, it means that your device is ready, right? So if I trigger channel 0, right, you will be see that the channel 0 DI0 is on. Okay, if you press channel 2, I'm pressing is the second button is orange color. You have to see that if I release it, is 2. Okay, so for this training is that I'm using 2 types of the button. One is the latching, is you press on, they will be always on. Second one is if you press and release. This type of the button we call is the momentary, right? So I'm using is the 2 different type of the button. So when I'm doing for the controlling the tower light, I will use a different function. I will show to you how to do that. Right. So now we can see that the Ethercard I/O module is working. Right. The next step, we try to add in another module, another I/O module. You have to be stop running, and then the lock off. The system will be allowed to be add into things. Allow it to do the configuration. Right. So the same thing, you just click to your device, then right click, add device. But this time we are not using is Ethernet IP, right? So we have to be add in the Ethernet IP, right? They are running is the Ethernet adapter. Okay, we have run it. Secondly is you have to be add in is you don't need to be add in this one, right? So we just okay, this one the same method when we configure Ethernet for the EtherCAT master card, we have to be select the LAN, right? So the same thing if you want to communicate with the Ethernet I/O module, Ethernet I/O module, right? Definitely you need to be define that I'm using is the LAN 2 to communicate with the Ethernet IP, right? So I need to be choose the correct IP, right? You just double click this thing, double click Ethernet. So we will be saying is we're using is the LAN 2. Okay. Okay. So second thing is you have to be they will have a function is scanning. They also will be providing a scanning. So we need to be add in the device Ethernet IP is the scanner. You have to add in a scanner. This scanner, they will be scanning our I/O module, right? This is the one more step we need to do because, okay, so you still need to be take a while. So, and then you just close it, close the window. So the same method with the EtherCAT. When you want to be scan the module, try to combine and lock in your application. So otherwise they were not able to allow to be scanned this thing, right? you this thing, you log in first, and then because the scanning will be under Ethernet scanner, right click and then scan the hardware. You still need to wait a while. They are trying to scan the actual hardware. So you will be see that the Advantech AMAX-658 is the module is scanning. So we were saying that okay, I will use this module to in my hardware. Right. So the same thing we can do the simple test whether our tower light, the output signal is working or not. Right. We can do a simple test, but you have to double click this one, come to this one. Right. We cannot do anything because everything is gray. Even though we are not writing the program, you have to be enabled that the signal is always on. You just log off and configure the module, right? So you have to set this thing. One more thing is you see now we need to be make sure my hardware I'm connecting is they will have because the one is the output module. They will have a few channel will be there, right? My actual hardware, I'm connecting to channel 0, channel 1 and channel 2 to be a little far. I'm not using. So channel 2 and channel 3 and channel 4, right? So I'm using is the 3 channel because we want to control 3 tower light signal, right? So you see now how before you test, definitely you need to know that where is their addressing, what is the I/O channel from the software side, right? So for the PLC, the standard one mainly is USB-C, that I/O data D to O, O to D, right? So you see now, let's say because of Advantech hardware, I/O, they will use the D to O, the mapping, this kind of the mapping and naming address. As long as you see the person NI was not N, person I is for the input, they are doing the mapping. So for the output one is Q, is mainly standard for the output used in the most of the PLC, right? So I'm not using the channel 0 and channel 1. So if I want to be simulate to be trigger, I have to be trigger channel 2 and channel 3. Maybe they are giving is the bit 2, 3, and 4, right? So okay, we try to lock in. Okay, and then we will run it so we can simulate it whether our hardware, our wiring is working or not, right? We just run it. So you see that this is the, as long as everything is done to green, it's normal. If you see something is strange, yeah, you have to check what is the issue, right? So you have to see from here, right? I will take out my camera. So our channel is 3, or channel 2. Green is connecting to the channel 2. You have to go to the prepare the value, right? You just click it. So how you want to write it? You just go to the debug and write the value, or you can use the Control F7, right? So if you see my camera is this green LED is on, right? So it means that our communication is working, wiring is working, channel is, we are, all the thing is correct, right? So okay, I was move on my program, right? So I will stop the application and then log off, right? The third one, what I need to do, right? So I've done the create project. I have done for the all the add device. I will do for the PLC soft logic control. So you see now, I'm not doing is the very complex the logic control. My program is that it should be simple, right? So because today is the first day, we are sharing is all the basics thing, right? So in my programming is I will use the some variable to do the mapping with the I/O, because you see, right? So if you're not you can use the all this address in your programming. But if you do for troubleshooting, where be very difficult to say that, oh, Q1 dot something something is which IO. It's very difficult, easier to be not easier to understand. If your program is big, it's very difficult to do the troubleshooting. So my always using is I would declare my own naming according to my project or wiring or the hardware. I'll be giving the name. I will use this name to do the mapping with all this IO, right? This one to be easier to do the programming, do the troubleshooting, all these things, right? So all these things we are doing for programming purpose. All the programming purpose we have to be add in the module. It should be under application, right? It should be under application, right? So to be easier to access, I always using is global variable. Global variable mean is if you look at from the programming, they can be accessed from anywhere. That's the meaning of the global, right? So I will declare some variable. No, for this project, I'm using 3 hardware, 3 channel of the DI, 3 channel of the TO, right? So I will be trying to declare 6 variable. So you just right click, right? So this one is under add object, right? So they will have a few functions. It will be there. I'm using is the global variable, right? So I just give the global variable, global variable. I just keep the naming, right? This global variable name. So they will have a few methods you can do for the declaration, right? So if you use the programming method to do the declaration, you can use this format. If you are familiar with the most of the PLC, if you want to be declare all these things, right, you can be insert all these things, you can be able to do that. Or so from here, I'm using is the programming method I will show to you, right? So to be easier to remember, I'm using is the naming DIO for 3 DIO. I'm using is the AMAX. You have to take note one thing, you cannot be used this one. This one is one of the experience. It seems like some of the character, special character is used by the IDE. So that's the reason they are not allowed to use it. Okay. So I'm using is the underscore. The module is the 5051, right? So for DI module, I'm giving is DI channel 0, right? So second thing is this one is the variable. Second thing, what is your variable data type, right? This one is the DO is the Boolean, right? So it just is a Boolean. So normally is I always giving this value to be. I would do mostly is I would do initialization, right? If you want to be write the value is the column and equal sign, right? This is the format, the rules you have to be follow, right? So default, I was saying that this is the false value, right? Ending must be semicolon, right? Similar to if you're using C#, definitely you have to follow this rule, okay? Right. As long as you didn't see that any red line, underline is everything is normal. Your program, all the sentence is normal. Okay, I will show something to you, right? So if you're, we are using 3 variable, right? 3 input, right? As long as you are using is the same name or any issue they will give to you is the something like the kings you this sentence is not correct, right? So I'm giving is channel 1, channel 2. This is the 3 channel. As long as you see that you didn't see that any red color, this is normal, right? So the next thing is I'm using is the Adam underscore 606. Oh, sorry, 6160 Ethernet IP. I'm giving is DO plus the one is I'm using is the channel 2. Their data type is the Boolean. Initialize, I'm always giving the false value. Right, so this is normal. So I don't need to write all thing. Okay, Control C. We just copy and paste. Right, so I'm using is the channel 3 and the channel 4. Right, this is a 4. So I have done all the declaration. Right, so this is 6 variable I can use for my application, right? So to be easier, I will do the physical I/O, and this variable I will do for mapping, right? How I do the mapping? I just go to the actual module, right? This one we are using is the DI, right? How to do the mapping, right? So you see now, if you want to do the mapping with your variable, you just go to the variable column. You just click, double click that one. Double click is because our variable is under application, right? So under application is a global variable. You just move a little bit, and then I will do channel 0. I will do mapping with this variable. If you press enter, you will see that this address is met with this variable, met with this IO address, right? So when you write the programming, you don't need to be memorize all this number to all this thing, right? So to be easier for you to write your programming. Okay, I will do all the mapping for. Sorry, this one is channel 1. Okay, this one is channel 2. Do the mapping. Okay, I have done right channel to be make sure 0, 1, and 2, right? This one is correct. I just save it. I will do the mapping for our DO module. You just go to the actual DO module. The same thing. You have to come to the correct location, right? Now our DO is using channels 2, right? So channel 2, double click. You see, channel 2 do the mapping to channel 3. Channel 4, right? So we have done all the mapping. Okay, so we have done the mapping. So we can see that whether we have any error or no error. We just go to the compile your program. So as long as you didn't see that any total number of the error, it means that your so far our program is working well. Okay, so the next step is I will try to create one function will be used on the actual programming, right? So actual programming will be run under main task. We're not doing anything. We're not doing anything. So far we have done just for the variable declaration. We just do for mapping, right? We want to do for the control process. My control process is the simple. If I press this button, I want to use the green because this green light, because I trigger before, this one is always on, right? If I press this one, you want to trigger. If I press this one time, it will be trigger. If I press the second time, this tower light will be off. This one is the flow I want to do it. So I will create the one function. We call the function block. Actually, this was if you're using is the programming. This is one function only, right? So how you want to do? You just go to the application. You just right click under the add object. They will have a POU, right? This is the way you can create the function block, right? We just give the naming. I just give the control tower light, right? This is the naming. You can give any name, right? This is the programming, right? I'm still using the structure test. So let's say some of the this one, if you write the programming, you will know that you can put in argument. You can get, if you want to create the return value, you can able to do that function. If you need the return value for this time, we don't need the return value. We just make the simple control, right? I didn't add in the additional their attribute in there, right? So I just create it. So you will see that this is the program. This is the program we were using. This is our function program, right? If you want to do programming, where you want to write it, you have to write it right here. So if you want to write the command, you just let's similar to the C#. So you just give the I just write DI0 trigger DO 0, right? So DO channel 2, it should be DO channel, right? So how you want to do the mapping? Because this is the latch pattern, right? I just need to be mapping. If your input signal is on, you just trigger your double light is on or off. This is the simple one, right? So we write the program. We want to be communicate with the I/O module, right? We don't need to be go and see that they are addressing. We can use the global declaration because we did the mapping, so we can use this naming to do the calling and use it. So this is our program. So how you want to call the global, right? You just press dot. You will be see that all the data will be here, right? So the green color we are using is the DO2, right? Green color is the DO2 because this DO2 is you want to write by something. So you just mapping with DI channel 0. You just double click this one. The ending have to be semicolon, right? So we see is whether we press the button and our double light is on or off. Okay, we just save and then one more thing, because we only declare this function. Actually, we are not running, right? So the thing is their function, the block, their name is similar to our CW+ programming, right? So you just create a function. It's called we create the instant. We are not creating the actual object and use it. So actual program is running under main task. So this is our PLC program. This is a default one. I will be writing will be there, right? So this is our control tower light function block is our instant. We have to create the object and run it. So you have to be create the object. I just give the run process. The thing, your data type is what? Your data type is this function name, right? You don't need to be type. You just right click, go to the input instant, right? One is the function. You see now, we are now declaring for the data type. Our data type is not all these things. Your data type is the function block. We will use this function block instantiate to be create the object. So this one is under structure type, right? Structure types. Our function is writing under application, right? This is the one. You just double click this one. You just ending with this one. You will not be see that under red line will be there, right? This one is we created our object, so we can use it, right? So we create the function. It does not mean that this one is running. You can be run it. So you have to create the object, and then you can run it. So you just run is your actual object. Run. You don't need to run. Maybe you can write run process, because our function is the programming, right? This one is if you're writing the high level programming, you will know that bracket is that they are calling the function. Bracket is they're calling the function. Semicolon just for the ending, right? So we save and compile and login and run. This is all the proper process. Login. So this time is we were adding to run on the actual controller. They will have a few options will be there, right? So you see now, I'm not downloading because downloading takes some time, right? So I don't want to be waste your timing. So to be run a little bit faster, I just run online run. So if you do for the actual project, if you have to choose either one, and then they will have one option will be here, right? Upload book application is when your application PC is restarting, PC is shut down, PC is crashed or anything, they will restart it. So if you want to your application run automatically, you have to be check this one, right? So now I'm not showing this simulation. I just use the normal one, right? So I just okay. Okay, we still need to wait a while. So and then we run it. Okay, because I still waiting because one of the module is not up yet, because you have to see now is everything is up, all the green, right? I just go to here, right? So our doing is the when the green button, because the one is the green cable, right? When I press this button, now it's off, right? So if you press this button, light will be on. If you press this button, light will be off, right? So this one is mean that our function block is working. Our mapping with our DI signal trigger the output is working. But the next step is if I want to press this one is definitely I'm not pressing all the way. If you pressing all the way, you can be on is on. You can do this kind of mapping. But my simulation to be when I press one time, this this orange tower light will be on. If I press the second time, this tower light will be off. How we do that? We just go and do it. Okay, the thing stop running and log off. Right, so all the program have to be run under our function block. We just give the comment di1 trigger do3, right? Okay, we are trying to another method. We are trying to use two functions. One is the rising edge function. When you press the button, only detecting button is pressed, they will trigger the tower light. When the next time press the button, is turn off the light. That's why we are not pressing all the way. Even though you press all the way, we are not do detecting. So we will use for the rising edge bit in function in our logic control, right? So we need to the same thing. Even though they write down the bit in function, they also the same thing like our instant. You have to be convert to the actual project, not that project, the actual object, right? So I will give the rising edge, right? I just give the name object. What's the data type? I just right click, input instant. All the structure I'm using is the standard function block, right? They will be under trigger. You see now, you can get some information because our application I'm using is the rising edge, right? If you double click this one, they will be you will be see in the your programming file. But before you do that, you can do two things, right? You can be see that how I should use this program. What is the calling and use it? You just refer to this one. They will have a documentation this area, right? So you have to declare. So this is the one I'm declaring, right? I'm declaring, yeah, saying the rising, right? Rising function block I will be using. Okay. When you do function call, this is their function call, the method. So this is the function, their return value, right? They will have a clock and the Q. Clock is the input signal, and the Q is for their output, the function block. So to be easier, right? So if you write the programming, right? So I will make it simple drawing. I will show to you, right? So if you write the programming function block, how you want to see that? Wow, this is the function block. So you will be writing is okay, when the input is trigger, right? I want to trigger the output signal, right? This is your input. Right, this is the input. What's the input? Input is timing they are using is the clock, right? This is the signal, you have to give it the name, okay? And then second one is that they will do process and return the value. This is their return value. right? So this is the return value. We will say that this is the output. Okay, right? So if your trigger rising at function plot is working, and then there will be triggered out return value, right? This is the method, right? So if you right click and go and do that, right? So you see that I double click this one, ending, right? So this one we are saying is that we have created the object for the rising at function. So how this rising at function is riding, right? You just go to there, you just click the rising at function, and then is the DVC. You have to use the input. You see the variable input. What's the variable input? We call the programming, we call argument, right? So you have to give the argument, saying is the argument type is the clock, and then our argument type is the clock one. Sorry, semicolon, and the value, the clock one we're receiving is our input variable. Our global is we are detecting for the second button. Second button is the channel 2, right? This is the DI channel 2 or channel 1, sorry, DI 1, right? So if we detecting this one, this function got after processing this one, you are receiving is the trigger value, return value, right? Based on function 1. What's the value? So we will use one of the function is the I will use if checking for this process. I want to be toggle this output towerlight signal. I'm using is the simple one, right? When the rising is detected, I will trigger the output. Dot, their return value is the Q. Then I want to be trigger the output signal. Maybe I just copy to be easier. I want to be trigger to our output is output 3. All right. So you see now, I first time I press, tower light will be on. Second time I press, tower light will be off, right? How I do that? So you see now, I write back to the output signal I'm not using. I just toggle their status. Toggle in the sorry, toggle is the not value, right? If this is the sentence in the BSC, right? If you toggle the status, you will be see that this one will be when you press this one will be on. When you press this second time, signal will be off, right? This is the toggle, all the way we are doing, right? So you see now, only detecting the rising when only you press the button. The rest of the signal, even though you press how long, they will not be care. Only they detect the pressing the short time, they will be trigger. Okay, until you release and re-trigger it. So that is the thing. We only need to be trigger something is the function is like that. Rising edge is the when the signal is trigger, right? I will draw the simple one. Right, this is our on time. Okay. Okay, I'll move a little fast because the time is near. So I will show you that this area is the rising edge. Only we are detecting rising function, we are talking the status. Okay, I move on my program, right? So I've done the program, right? And then the save, compile, log in, and run. So I will do a little bit fast. I will be overrun. Okay. Okay, I'll run it. Okay, I will show in the camera. Oh, okay, wait. Now it's ready. Is this one is my program I'm using is the green and the orange, right? If you press this one, will be on. If you press this one, will be on. If you press first time, release it, it will be on. If you press the second time, they will toggle signal only, right? So, not the very complex one. I'm sharing is the very basic function. Okay, this is my ending part for this hands-on demo. So I will pass it to Galen.
Okay, after all the insight sharing and the demo sessions by our team, I believe all of you have a better understanding of the product itself. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. Thanks again for joining us today, and we will see you next time.